bin hier mit Bill Laurance am Rhein und Bill Laurance wird am 8.3. in der Kölner Philharmonie auftreten und deshalb wollen wir uns darüber ein wenig unterhalten. Bill, you're actually becoming a regular now for the Kölner Philharmonie.
It's true. I can't stay away, it's true.
Since only a few weeks ago you've been playing with the WDR Big Band. How did this come about?
So the show with the WDR came about through Friederike Darius, who works for the WDR, and I met working with the Metropole Orchestra and Snarky Puppy, and so she suggested me as an artist to collaborate with the WDR, and then I was put in touch with Bob Mintzer, who did all the arrangements, and it was incredible. It was in many ways how the music has always been intended to have been performed. I kind of wrote these quite large, grand arrangements on the original album, and so to have them realized in that way on stage was kind of a dream come true, and especially in the Philharmonic Hall, it was really wonderful. You know, it's an incredible space because it obviously has a large capacity, but when you're on stage, it feels like you're in somebody's living room. And I found it strangely relaxing performing there, because, I don't know, it just feels very intimate. The crowd feel, I suppose they're kind of raised up high, but they feel very close. And so you feel kind of very safe on stage. It's unlike any experience I've ever had at any venue. You can really sense the amount of attention to detail that went into that venue, and you really sense it on stage. And obviously the acoustic is, you know, one of the best in the world now, and so it feels like you don't have to work very hard for the music to sound good. You know.
How is it opposed to playing in a small club?
I mean, sometimes, you know, a smaller venue has its own pluses, because I'm a real fan of that intimacy and feeling like the crowd are right there with you. But as I say, I think what's special about the Philharmonic Hall is it maintains that intimacy whilst allowing for a large audience, you know. So it's a very unique space. But there can be a limit. I think after maybe 2,000 people, it's hard to feel like you can really connect with everybody there, you know. So there's a line, I think. But yeah.
You've been improvising one song called For Herbie. How do you manage to do things like that anyhow? Actually not knowing what to play at all? How does it work?
Yeah, so I thought I'd set myself the challenge on this tour and on my last solo tour to perform something completely from scratch. Because earlier last year I had the fortune to meet Herbie Hancock, and we were discussing the significance of being in the moment and being 100% present, and how improvisation had led him to Buddhism. And so I kind of took this away with me and thought it might be cool to challenge myself to start with a blank canvas every night and just see where I end up. I mean, in a way we're improvising.
Yeah, every night?
Every night, yeah. I mean, in a way we're improvising right now. We're having a conversation, right? And we're just kind of, we see where we go and we see where we end up. And that's what I'm trying to kind of do every night, and yeah, try and find a new path, you know, because I think that's the thing that I've discovered audiences respond to, is feeling like they're part of that moment, you know.
Tell me about the advantages and perils, on the other hand, of improvising.
You know, sometimes you can try and improvise and it doesn't quite go how you might have hoped, and this is the beauty in a way, and you know, and I think what makes an audience feel like they're part of that moment is that vulnerability, and seeing a musician in that vulnerable space, taking that risk with you, you know. And I think it needs to feel like a risk. It needs to feel like we're all on the edge together, you know, experiencing this moment, hoping that it will end up the way we intended. But you know, sometimes it doesn't, and I think you have to just kind of be able to be fine with that and move on, you know. I mean, ultimately there isn't necessarily such a thing as a wrong note when you're improvising, so you know, you can stand behind any musical decision you might make, but I think the main thing is that you mean every note. You make every single note count, and you don't make any note be a throwaway, you know. I know Miles Davis used to say, like, think of every note as $1, you know. So if you go, you know, that's like 50 quid. So, you know, you've got to be economic about the notes you choose.
So now you're going to perform as a solo artist, though, in the Philharmonie with your new album, Cables, that's coming out close to the performance.
That's right.
In March, I think the record's coming out late in March.
That's right. That's right.
What do we have to expect from that concert?
So this is a kind of brand new concept where I'll be performing brand new material from this new album that is inspired by the kind of ever evolving technological developments that are kind of running away with us without us kind of being able to keep up with them.
Cables.
Cables, yeah. I was trying to kind of get to the heart of the exponential growth of technology, and I ended up writing quite a kind of dystopian concept album that is sort of asking the question as to whether we should be afraid of the speed of technology or whether it's something we should celebrate.
And do you have an answer to that?
Well, I think the album ended up trying to kind of do both. You know, raise awareness. It's quite a dark sounding record. There's a lot of sort of sinister colour going on, but I think ultimately it also always has quite a human thread, and I suppose the message to come away with is that the human intention will always prevail. And so the concert I'm going to be performing will feature me at the piano itself, but also with a number of other bits of technology, synthesizers, drum machines, loops, different effects that I'm putting on the piano. And I'm trying to kind of see where the marriage between the acoustic and the electronic is, and where they kind of agree and disagree.
So you're going to have a setup like Herbie Hancock in the 70s? Lots of keyboards all over?
Well, that's the plan. I mean, actually my solo touring setup is quite modest. It's kind of all I managed to get it all in a carry-on, basically. So it's quite compact. But as the tour progresses, I'm going to be adding keyboards all the time. You can never have too many keyboards.
You're doing, next to your own solo work, you're still working with Snarky Puppy. How did you get in touch with Snarky Puppy anyhow? You're the only Englishman in the group, and they are a bunch of Texans. Is that right?
They're all American, yeah. They met in Texas. That's where the band kind of was originally formed. But I actually met Michael League, the original founder of the band, in the UK. We had a mutual friend who invited him over, and we were on the same gig doing a Chet Baker tribute thing in Bridlington, basically. And we just hit it off, and this is before Snarky Puppy existed, and he invited me over to record the first Snarky Puppy album, and this is 14 years ago. And so I said yes, and the rest is history. I was going back and forth for years, and we were playing house parties and sleeping on sofas, you know.
So at the time, living in England, by the way, you still do?
I still live in the UK, yeah, that's right.
That might change with the Brexit?
Oh man, don't get me started on that. Yes, if Brexit happens, I'm going to move to the south of France.
Let's hope for the best.
Hoping.
Thank you very much, and looking forward to see you soon at the evening in the Philharmonie.
Fantastic. Yeah. See you on the 8th of March. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Cheers.